Welcome back. I'm Raoul Contreras. Let's continue talking about President Biden and immigration, and this information comes from the Washington Post. How do Biden's border policies differ from Donald Trump's? Arrests at the Mexican border, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, are at their highest level ever, reports the Washington Post Nick Miroff reporter. Many migrants who come trying to cross tell reporters that they think President Biden will be more lenient on letting them in than former President Donald Trump was. That may be so, and that may not be so, because we have different Biden immigration policies. He's kept one controversial enforcement policy in place, but has signaled in many ways that he wants to be more welcoming to immigrants. Let's run through them. First up, the most symbolic item of the Trump era, a border wall. Biden immediately stopped building it when he became president. Biden has approached deportations very differently from Trump as well. He first put a moratorium on them, deportations, then reduced deportations significantly. He lifted Trump's restrictions on how many people can seek asylum, quote, and from what countries. But he did this only after an outcry from liberals and refugee advocates. He also stopped Trump's, quote, remain in Mexico, unquote, policy, which forces asylum seekers to stay in Mexico, vulnerable to violence for potentially months on end while they await their case. Biden called it inhumane. The Supreme Court, however, recently ordered that to keep the program going. But Biden has kept in place a controversial method for quickly booting migrants out of the country, despite his basic objection to that move. It's a pandemic-rooted law the previous administration also used to justify sending people near the border home without giving most of them a chance to apply for asylum as required by law. This is technically different than deporting people. The administration calls it expelling, because it doesn't even allow people a chance to get into the country to apply for asylum as the law allows. The ACLU and Senate Democrats have urged Biden to stop this. During a recent uproar over the Border Patrol's treatment of Haitian migrants, Senate Majority Leader Charles E. Schumer, a Democrat of New York, publicly scolded Biden, saying, quote, "We cannot continue these hateful and xenophobic Trump policies that disregard our refugee laws," unquote. All this is putting immense pressure on Biden from both sides of the aisle. The reporter Nick reports that immigration activists are so upset at him for continuing some deportations that they staged a virtual walkout in a White House meeting the other day. And Republicans are ready and willing to attack Biden as weak at the border to rally their base in the midterms coming up soon, in a few months. That helps explain why immigration is one of the president's lowest polling issues. That's true. He does not poll well. Let's move on to another person who is polling well, at least with his audience, Tucker Carlson of Fox News. Just so everybody understands, he's not a stranger to me. I know him, and I knew his father. I helped campaign against his father when he ran for mayor of San Diego. Tucker Carlson defrauds his audience yesterday, a few days ago. Fox News host Tucker Carlson unveiled a dramatic trailer for his new special, one which will reveal the true story behind the January 6th Capitol riot. In it, he drops real truths like, these are Tucker Carlson truths, Americans are being held in Guantanamo Bay for participation in the riot. That's a lie. It's not true. That a new, quote, war on terror has been launched against right-wingers, Americans. Not true. That's a lie. And that it was a false flag attack, the January 6th riot. False flag means that it was inspired by government agents secretly hiding behind beards, filthy, non-showered bodies, and waving Confederate flags and destroying everything they could in the Congress of the United States, and chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." That is probably not true. There might have been a few federal informants in among the crowd. That's what they get paid to do, infiltrate the enemy and keep the FBI apprised of what's going on. Now, that was the case. The FBI knew this was coming. They passed the word on to the Capitol Police, and there they did nothing. So, one Tucker Carlson lie after another. But there is one truth from the trailer that needs to get out there. Fox News is not involved in this documentary, quote unquote. Carlson is Fox News' most popular host. Primetime, the anchor of its primetime show, the most watched show on cable news. He took the place of the previously most watched cable news program, in which the host was fired for sexually harassing Fox women employees. But this documentary about the January 6th riot is not a Fox News documentary. And this information comes from a publication called the Daily Dot. In the story, the Daily Dot did not mention that the show had Fox News backing, just that it was being released by Carlson. The publication did mention that one prominent conservative called out Fox News personalities over it, the documentary, asking them to denounce it. But after Fox ran it, Fox News emailed the Daily Dot, the publication, with a, quote, urgent request, unquote. It said at the top of the email, quote, not for publication, unquote. But as everyone knows, especially PR teams, public relations teams, you need to agree on the conditions of publication of information before it is provided. The Daily Dot did not agree to Fox's demand when it was sent this quote, and thus is not bound by the request. Plus, you should know that even Fox News wants to distance itself from Carlson's documentary, which claims patriots are being purged by the federal government. Quote, can you please add so it's clear that these new episodes are for Fox Nation, question mark, the subscription-based streaming platform that is behind a paywall. I don't see that noted anywhere in the piece. Tucker Carlson Originals is not for the Fox News channel. So there you have it. You must pay and subscribe to Fox Nation to watch the documentary, the false documentary, because Fox News will not put it on its air. We want to be clear. That's what Fox News says. We want to be clear about that. We have updated our original piece. The post Fox News wants to make it, quote, clear, is it airing Tucker Carlson's Capitol riot documentary that appeared first. That report appeared first in the Daily Dot. Ruben Navarrete, we just did 15 minutes with him. He thinks it's a good idea that President Biden appoint a commission to look into immigration to see how we can try to straighten it out. And he thinks, I know, that he supported the commission to investigate the January 6th riot, which the Republicans torpedoed. More of Tucker Carlson. The Daily Dot broke the story about Tucker Carlson's documentary being false, and that it was rejected by Fox News. And I think we should understand that. I think we should understand that. Don't you? I think we should. Now, let's talk about a few things. Let's do a wrap up here of what we've been talking about today. Veterans Day is just a few days away. November 10th, the Marine Corps birthday, is just a few days away. For all you former Marines, myself included, Semper Fi. For all you Americans who trust the Marines to be America's 911 force, Semper Fi. We are loyal to you and the Constitution, to the United States, to its people and the Constitution. We will fight everywhere. I'm too old to fight now, but I wasn't when I was younger, and I went where the Marine Corps sent me. I've got to tell you that my whole life was changed. When you, like Yogi Berra said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Well, when I turned 18, the first thing I did was I joined the Marine Corps after 1 year of college. That was a mistake. I should have waited till I finished college, because it would have been nice to be an officer, because I found out as an enlisted man, it's nicer to be an officer than to be an enlisted man. But I learned a lot from the Marines. Almost everything I've ever done since then has been something that I was trained to do in the Marine Corps when I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. I did things when I was 20 and 21 years old that some people with PhDs never get to do as leaders of men and now women. But I learned those things. I am so proud to be a United States Marine. The last two words I will utter as I go on to the next world will be Semper Fi, I can tell you that. I'm not alone. Every Marine is always a Marine, always. Now, let's talk about immigration. We've discussed that. I want you to discuss among yourselves, what do you think should be done about immigration? And let me know. In a few seconds, the email address will pop up, and you can send me your suggestions. And on YouTube, you can comment as well. So I want you to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube and haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, if you will, so that you will be notified when we post a new Contreras report. Also, I will be posting, when it's edited, the hour-long version that appears on statewide cable in the state of Baja California del Norte. Compliments produced by TV in Tijuana and the statewide cable network CNR. I want to thank them for making this presentation available to hundreds of thousands of people in the very important state of Baja California del Norte, and also now appearing on American television stations in English and Spanish, as this presentation is. And we hope that you will tell your friends about it. Forward this copy that you're watching to a friend through YouTube, and spread the word, because we try to offer an exposure of the border like you've never experienced before. We're veterans here on the border, veterans of the border. I've been crossing the border since 1943, north in that case, and north and south ever since, starting when I was a kid, and continuing through my adult years, and including this week and this day. Crossing the border to me is as natural as the sun coming up in the border. The sun coming up in the morning, excuse me. But anyway, we know the border. So when you hear Ruben Navarrete and I talk about the border, he knows it slightly differently than I do. You'll notice in today's edition, he pointed out that it's the Mexican-American in Texas who's objecting to the border crossings that are going on, not because they're not Mexicans, they're people they don't know. Haitians, Chinese, Europeans, Africans. They're from all over the world now. Cubans are crossing the border illegally now because the wet foot, dry foot policy that was instituted years ago, allowing them to just set foot on land in the United States, and they could apply for asylum and were given green cards automatically, unless they had a heavy communist background. So things are changing on the border. That's what we will spend time investigating. We're here on the border. We know the border. And we thank you for being here with us so that you can learn about the border and Mexico and the United States and the Constitution and all the things that interest us. Let me be the one who shines a light on these issues that you may or may not be familiar with, but you are probably interested because it's America's way of life. Remember, I talked about the Russian immigrants that came here and couldn't speak English, couldn't speak enough English to get into the army when we were at war, but that a Mexican who spoke just enough English to say, please, let me enlist in your army, he was taken in, and he became a citizen. He earned it on the battlefield. Marcelino Serna and the veterans of all America's wars and all America's military, thank you. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. See you next time.